Hey everybody, Rodman here. Thanks for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program. So last episode we had that big old aerobraking mission and that yielded a bunch of science and money. Before I continue, I am all but certain that the mission for the goo observations around Mun is bugged. So I'm going to go into the console here and complete it. But on the other hand, the one around Minmus should still be working, so I'm going to leave that be. Taking a look at my mission control, let's see. I have no missions that I want to pick up. Yeah, I don't have any missions that I want to pick up right now, so I'm going to not do any of that. So what I want to do is get very heavy rocketry and large volume containment. So I'm going to research that. I need only like 6 more science for the very heavy rocketry. So what I'm going to do is actually accelerate time until my Minmus goo observation finishes, and that should yield enough science to unlock that last bit there. So I'm just accelerating time a little bit. As you can see, my tracking stations are enjoying their job of spinning around like crazy. Let's accelerate time even more. And then I'm going to work on a Duna lander. This is a first time I'll be... Oh, there we go. Perfect. Let's warp to next morning, just to make it look nice. So that right there was goo science from Minmus being processed. If we take a look at the missions here... actually, I could do it here. We have 40 out of 50%. So as you can see, the Minmus was working, the Mun was not. I do have accelerated time, so I might have a different set of missions for Duna. Duna here, this mission yields a whole lot of money, but I am not going to take on any more complexity than I already have. Okay. I will eventually, maybe next episode or the episode after, do some asteroid stuff. So now that we have the science for very heavy rocketry, let's get that. And let's start working on our beautiful Duna lander. So, well, as you can see, I just sort of started it, but then I stopped to start recording. So, this would be... Let's not save that. This will be RHD, I have no idea, 16? Even though it's mission episode 22? Okay, so RHD 16. Now, Duna, there are some considerations here to be made. Duna you can aerobrake on, which is huge. Absolutely huge. So what I'm going to do is add a enormous parachute network to the lander pod here so that I can land on parachutes, mostly, and not use up my fuel. Now, the atmosphere, much like its analog in real life, Mars, is very thin, which means... you have to use a lot of chutes to get bang for your buck here. So what I'm going to do is drogue chutes. But because the atmosphere is thinner, I should be able to not burn up. Alright. And those are 2 different stages of chutes, and we can repack them for Kerbal re-entry. I'm only going to send 1 guy to Duna. I'm going to keep it simple, keep it light. So the next thing I want to do is to add a service bay. And this is going to be a weird shaped ship, I think. But a service bay, and we'll add our typical... Well, you know what? Actually, let's have a bigger service bay. The larger service bay can house the Science Junior inside of it, which is of some benefit to us. And have that all face forward. Cool. Then we're going to want maybe a fueled adapter to combine these 2. That's almost the right size. That might be close enough, but let me go into structural and see if there's anything a little closer. Alright, that would be closer. Let's not do it with fuel. That looks a bit nicer. Alright, and let's stick all of our little sciencey objects in here. So we'll have symmetrical goo containers, and I'll just try to stuff this full of everything. So we'll have our barometers. Let's see, what else do we need? Seismometers, thermometers, atmospheric analyzers. So the beautiful thing about Duna is it has an atmosphere, so we can do atmosphere analyzation for the first time in ever. Because all the other bodies that we've gone to hasn't have atmosphere other than Kerbal, but analyzing Kerbal's atmosphere is not all that worth doing. Some of these, half of these I'll do in the atmosphere of Duna, and then half of these I'll do in the surface of Duna. There are different atmospheres, so actually, I'm sure I'll do a Duna return trip. So I'm gonna get like high atmosphere stuff, and then, you know what? Hold on. Part of me is thinking, get a ton of science from one trip, or I'll kick myself. So what I'm going to do is 4 times symmetry. It's going to crank up the expense of this rocket. But it will be it'll be a science boat. So space around Duna, surface, etc., etc. And as you can see, the expense has gone up. The weight hasn't gone up too badly, though. So that is a whole lot of science. I'm not going to add 4 science juniors, though. They're just too bulky. Then, additionally, I can add cargo. So it's going to actually be very difficult to reach that cargo. Well, no. Maybe I won't put the cargo there. So now I have to decide what will the lander stage look like, right? So I always like large reaction wheels, and maybe I'll put... oops. Undo that. I'll put this large reaction wheel here. Now, Duna has a low enough gravity and thin enough atmosphere that my jetpack will get me around. So I don't need crazy network of ladders and whatnot. What I will need is the ability to land. So let's see about that. We are going to want some radial couplers. I think 6 will do. And then 4... oh, they're not all that symmetrical, are they? Come on, there we go. Yep, that's more symmetrical. And then the ones on the ends here are going to be the first to get kicked out. So let's see. If I just want... oops, I didn't mean to click that. If I just want to grab this one decoupler, or this one pair, and separate it out, I can do that. So what I'm going to do first is decide how big my fuel tanks are getting off Duna. I might even want more fuel than that. Might want these larger tanks. Those are big tanks. It's going to be honestly pretty tough to get this into Duna orbit, but I think it's worth it. So I'm going to put my tanks like this. Just like that. Let's put some fuel caps on them. And then aerodynamic cones. That's pretty big. Big old tanks. I will have a stage in the middle as well that will have decoupling. So before I add that stage, I got to think, what else am I going to want on this little ship here? I could have a little communicatron satellite disconnect. That wouldn't be terrible to leave some sort of satellite in Duna orbit. But that might add weight and complexity to this that I don't want to inherit. I think that's going to be the case. So the only other thing I will want is some scientific cargo. And the issue here is I'm going to have to probably put it... I'll put it there. So in this, we'll have communications. We'll have weather analyzer, experiment control, and goo, and then a whole lot of photovoltaic panels. And these are not going to be set up from an engineer. or scientist, but a pilot. So we're going to have a lot of them. All right, so that, we'll cover that. Now I have to decide on the engines for this. Fuel efficient, but enough to break Atmo will be good. So what is the thrust on these? They have really good vacuum, but terrible atmospheric ISP. These Bobcats are a little bit better for atmospheric. This thrust to weight ratio. Let me fix the decouplers. Is enough to even break Kerbal Atmo. So they're plenty for Duna Atmo. Is this really my best bet, though? Let's see. Because the skiffs are larger than this, right? So we'll set these aside. Yeah, the skiffs are larger. Yeah, those are larger. So we're really looking at hang on, let me right click. Yeah, I think Bobcats. I haven't used Bobcats before, so they should be cool. Alright, now they're nicely lined up. Let's see if lander legs will even be able to reach if we have these Bobcats. So these are the... yeah, they'll be able to reach. They'll be able to reach the ground. For sure. Okay, well that's good. That's at least a little bit of good news. The Bobcats... locked by attachment. Let's see. Yep. So we'll attach these here, and it forces... let's see if this is long enough. Oof, barely. I don't really want it to land on my engine, so we'll leave that tank butt there. Alright, start retracted. That looks pretty good. The next thing I'm going to want to do is a decoupler in the middle. That's too big. So 25, yep. And then find a tank of this same width, which would be... no. Which of these? That's liquid fuel. Yeah, it would be these wide tanks. Let's grab this one, though. Alright, and then this should be a very, very fuel-efficient engine, because this is our return phase back to Kerbal. This is the last one we'll eject, so we have to decide where it's going to go. So Poodles are very fuel-efficient in vacuum, but my worry is that's a little bit too low. So let's change that around to be... shorter. Oh boy, that is... is it too wide? Oh my god, it's not too wide, but it looks it. That's a lot of fuel right there, though. That's probably too heavy. At some point, you have to decide how heavy you want your thing to be, right? Because if it's straight up too heavy, it's going to be really hard to get it into orbit. So it's sort of like a push-pull relationship on how heavy, how much fuel, etc., etc. So this way, I can have the Poodle. Let's rotate that so it looks nice. Sort of nice. Make these orange so that they look significantly different. Okay, so now you can see the different phases. And then that doesn't touch the ground. Good. So that Poodle phase is all set. So one of the tips I had from you guys, let me read this off, I gotta load it up. It's about how to asparagus stage when you already have symmetry, which is very cool. I hadn't really realized that was doable. So let me get that done. So that message, or that tip, was from Ozaton. You just have to open each decoupler and pick the decouplers separately and drag them to their own stages. So let's see. That would be... If I hold left alt here, I can grab just a cluster of decouplers here. So like I grabbed one there, and I can separate the stage out, and then let's grab one more. This one, 1 and 2. So now as you can see, 1 and 2, I've asparagus staged outwards without affecting the other ones, even though the symmetry is the same. And I'll have to do that with the others as well. So here's another asparagus stage. Good, good. All right. And then, of course, we don't have them fueled to one another. So we'll get that done. And we don't have them strutted either. All right. That looks kind of cool. I don't know. It doesn't really matter how it's painted. Something like that's fine. Cool. Shroud disabled. All right. So that is a decent amount of fuel and landers and all that. I really hope that I have enough parachutes. I might actually want to add... I might want to change my parachutes around. So what I'm going to do here is asparagus stage them like this, where... these tanks go to 2 to 3, or 4 to 3. Where's 3? So it will be... I'm gonna have to stage this as well. Alright. So those fuel... No, that's not gonna really work for me. I'll just have to do one symmetry, I think. So, doing these right. Yep. So that is all set, and I'll have to replicate that on the other side. So this to this, I believe. Nope, wrong one. And I can test all the staging out before I launch. So let's take a look for bird's eye view. Yes, that is correct staging, and then these two to the last two. So this fuels this. And this fuels this. Good. And then those two outside ones will fuel the center tank. So it's not all that elegant looking, but it will function. And there's all the beautiful asparagus staging, plenty of Delta V. I just need to get this bad boy up into orbit. The next thing I'm going to do is strutting. So we can use 6-timed symmetry here and strut them all out. And then strut like this. And that way we reduce the wobbles. Let's save that. Alright, that looks pretty fancy. Now I did say I wanted to wanted to change some of the parachuting. So what I'm going to do here is I want a lot of parachutes because Duna has a very, very thin atmo. So I'm going to leave... so here, as you can see, I have a bunch of parachutes on the stages that are going to be ditched. I don't know if this stage is going to stick around long enough to be used. And then when I come back to Kerbal, I can get rid of some of these drogues as well. Now, I haven't experimented. I don't know if this is going to work. This is like first time building this type of ship. So on Kerbin, these 3 parachutes and the one on top, like the 2 on the sides, 1 on the top, and those drogues are going to fire separately. So I'm going to put them on their own stage because they're sticking around on the final ship. And then put the drogues there as well, and we can repack them. And then all these other chutes are going to stage differently. Like that, and like that. Save that. Alright, that should work. I might need to change some staging, but I think that's okay. Now what I'm going to do is add some electrical capacity. I could just do this ×4. And I'm not going to need a whole lot of power, so let's just do some foldable panels. And I'll have this just be... I'm trying to think, where do I have some open real estate? I could just do ×3. No, that's not going to work. 3 times symmetry here, and that will be fine. Because I don't want it. I don't want the potential of the ladder here to block it. For utility, I know I said that I don't need to worry too much about Duna because the gravity is enough that I can use my jetpack, but let's design it smart anyway. So we're going to want a ladder that goes out something like that. That looks really messy. I'm going to do a straight down ladder. I'll just do the smaller one. And that gives us something to grapple and hold on to. Another thing I'm going to want on this bad boy is some lights. So let's go into utility and add some landing lights. I'll add them there. Maybe offset them. 3 lights, good. That will work. Save that bad boy. Cool. So that's pretty much what's landing on Duna, minus maybe these 2 sides. Yeah. I can get behind that. So the next thing is, of course, getting this whole thing towards Duna. That is probably the tough part, right? I've done the easy bits. So let's do a 25 decoupler and an adapter so we can get even more fuel here. I don't know. I don't have all the adapter sizes memorized. I might not even have the right sized adapter here. So maybe structure. Well, what I'll do is I'll have just the big fuel tank. I'll slap one of these big bad boys on. Is this my largest is these, I think. These jumbo. Let's see. That has 2880 liquid fuel. See if anything has more. No. I think those are my biggest tanks. Let me save that and go into R&D and make sure that I am absolutely correct that that is the biggest tank I have. So, that would be very large. Oh, no. It'd be the Carbidine 7200s. Okay. So I was wrong about that. So back into the vehicle assembly. And let's fix the tanks to be even bigger. Go big or go home. So these are yes, these tanks are even larger. And this adapter should be the correct sized. Oh, perfect. And this is like a ridiculous amount of fuel. This is going to be a very, very, very big rocket. Now, I need to figure out what my thrust to weight ratio is for my biggest engines. So, the most amount of thrust I have is 4K kilonewtons, I think. Let me double check. 1K. Little Separatrons. Yeah, I think it's going to be these 4Ks. These mammoth lifters. So the mammoth lifter here is going to go on the bottom stage. And where is that separator? That separator is going to be above it. No, this is not going to be... Oh, that's actually enough thrust to weight to actually get us off Kerbin. That's how super powerful those mammoths are. So actually, this isn't my full rocket, but I'm just going to do a little quick staging test because this thing will actually take off. And I'm going to go up 2K so I don't destroy my launch pad or anything like that. Now, I have a mission to fly by Duna, but obviously I plan on landing it. I don't plan on just flying by it initially. Let's physics accelerate time, which is a little dangerous when you have a big, heavy rocket. We're about 2 kilometers up. And 7 and 6 stage can merge. So, because it still has fuel, it's still pushing me. But yeah, then we'll asparagus stage, asparagus stage, asparagus stage. This phase doesn't... Oh, no, it does have enough thrust to weight. It's just, this one is what's going to blast back to Kerbin. And this should be stage off like that. And then here is my Kerbin lander. And all I'm... Okay, I hope that doesn't land on my... All I'm really concerned about here is I have enough parachutes to land safely. So I'm going to make sure once I... Let me get rid of SAS. Okay, that's nauseatingly wobbly. Once the real chutes pop, do I slow down enough? This one popped at 2,500, and these will pop at 1,000. And I slow down below 9. Okay, good. Revert flight to a vehicle assembly. Alright, so I know my parachute stage that gets me back to Kerbin works. Everything else works. So the big deal is, what I want is to reserve... this mammoth fuel tank. I'm just thinking out loud right now. Reserve this mammoth fuel tank so that it is helping with the transfer burn to Duna, which means I need to get this mammoth fuel tank into orbit. Is that too low? No, that's not too low. I added a bunch of inline stability to allow me some stability. So let's combine these stages here. And the separator, no, the separator was right. I want that as high as possible because I'm going to reuse these parachutes. Okay. And this still has enough thrust to weight. That's crazy. That's how much that lifter lifts. So if I want to get this up into space, I have a lot of money, like a ridiculous amount of money. So let's go and do something ridiculous then. We will asparagus stage 6 times and put some of these Kerbidines here. This is so much overkill, I'm not even sure I can adequately explain how overkill this is. So this is a ridiculous amount of thrust. Actually, yeah, it all can be on the same stage. And I'm going to asparagus that out as well. These bump into each other a little bit. Let me rotate them so they don't. Is there? Nope, there is no alternative paint pattern here at all. So I just hope that these are lined up correctly. They look like it. And that doesn't... I have to raise my craft up a little bit just so I can see its underbelly. I don't believe anything collides with one another. No, it doesn't. It's very carefully. It's like a beautiful ballet down there. All right. then the Kerbal adapters, and then I don't think I have anything aerodynamic that wide. No, I really don't. Oh, no, maybe I do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, all of those separators, where'd they go? All these stack separators are way, way up here. Okay, that's a little bit better. And where is that separator? Okay, yep, that looks about right. And we're gonna asparagus this up and strut this all up. So first, let's strut the rockets to one another, and then I can strut the rockets to the middle. Cool. So now they're all nicely strutted. And then we next are going to asparagus stage these. So that means the first ones we want to get rid of are maybe these side ones. So this will be, let's see, this will be, oh, come on, 4 and 2, I think. So drag these to stage 9. Let me double check that I've done that right. Nope, it won't be, I didn't do it right. I got the wrong ones. Now, let's get the right one. It is this one. It is 3. Put this, oh, put that one back. Alright, so these two ends, asparagus first, and let's just replicate the asparagus staging that we had before. So then they go left. So let's hook up that fuel line now, and we'll have to do single fuel lines. So this goes left, and this goes left. Alright, and then the left ones there are going to be the next asparagus staged out. So that is 3 and 1. Done. Pulled them out. Just double checking everything. That looks right. And then that will go left as well. So this goes to this. I don't know how these teeny little fuel lines actually move enough fuel, because there's a lot of fuel in these tanks. And then those go to the middle. So the middle one will be the last. This will look real messy because it's hard to get an angle on it. So these go to the middle. Save. Alright, and as you can see, my delta V has gone up even more. Now, just to save even more fuel, I'm going to have a bunch of kickbacks, like I always do, to help break Atmo, and then I think I'm good. Again, a little bit longer of an episode due to its complexity. So let's see. Kickback. And what I'll do is I'm not going to asparagus stage the kickbacks. I'm just going to have a bunch of kickbacks. All working in tandem, in chorus, to help me break Atmo. Alright, that's a hell of a lot of kickbacks. It's a very, very expensive craft, as you can see here, but it's my first time, so I'm going to crazily over-engineer this thing. Unfortunately for me, there is not actually a lot of missions that I have to go do on Duna. So I'm going to get a heck of a lot of science from all of my, from the missions, but I'm not going to get a lot of money for it. But that's okay. I can fund out of pocket. So now I'm just strutting this up. Now the only worry is collisions, mid-flight collisions, so I'm going to have to maybe run this once to make sure that I don't have any crazy in-flight collisions. Let's see. My part count is a little high, so I'm going to have to fix that. So let's see what we're going to do here. All of these kickbacks are going to be on 11th stage. And let's fix the staging here, and then all of its separators are going to be on the stage above. And I'm trying to carefully do this so don't screw anything up. Alright, save and leave. I have to leave because I've hit my part count cap, which means I have to upgrade my vehicle assembly again. So now I have no part cap max here. I can build to my heart's content. And that used up a good bit of my extra funds. Alright, so now I don't have an engineer's report that I have some part cap maxed out. The Delta V here is probably even more ridiculous than what we see right now. The last thing I want is the launch stability. I hope that that's enough stability. We'll have an experimental launch first. Save that. Action groups. I haven't really been using action groups, but now I can have custom action groups. So custom action group 1 is going to be toggling the solar power panels. 2 is going to be toggling the landing lights. And 3 is going to be toggling the ladder. It's totally not necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Yep, save. Looking my ship over. I really hope I staged everything correctly and I built it correctly. If I haven't, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. I'm going to take a look real quick at the missions I have available to see if I can't get any extra. No, this ship does not support 5. Surface Outpost does not support 5. That's about it. Okay. So let's go ahead and launch. Oh boy, fingers crossed. Jebediah is going to go. And I'm going to launch this. So this is the first time I'm leaving Kerbin's sphere of influence and its satellites. Its 2 natural satellites, Minmus and Mun. So, career first? Definitely. I am running low on time, so this is probably going to be a 2-parter. Oh boy, that's a lot of parts that I have to load up. What kind of time do I have? I have a little bit. I have enough to circularize. So let me... You probably can't hear me, but I'm just trying to keep my thrust to weight so I'm not using liquid fuel so much. Using all these solid boosters. And this is a bit of an experiment. We might end up running out of liquid fuel for one of the sides first. That's why I'm really feathering this. Hope all my asparagus staging is correct. Yeah, it does look like it. So we definitely want to get all of these solid boosters emptied before my first staging. Now the only thing that this doesn't have, that's actually a really cool like ringed smoke pattern there. This doesn't have the ability to communicate home other than the communicatron that's built into the deployable parts. But I wanted to keep it... I wouldn't say this ship is simple, but I wanted to keep it simpler. Alright, so the kickback's separated. And I'm tilting to 90 for an orbit. I'm going to point prograde so I can separate out the rockets that just ran out of fuel and not have them collide. Let's open up my APO data. I have 11k Delta V left in this craft. This craft is super fueled. I have 50,000 liquid fuel left. Actually, I'm bringing some monoprop that I didn't mean to bring, but that's okay. Testing the action groups, I turn on my landing lights. They worked. I'm not going to turn on the solar power panels or the ladder, though. I'm going to leave them retracted. Pointing prograde until I hit APO 70 or so. And I'm about to have to stage yet again. And because I'm pointing prograde, I won't have any collision issues. Apo is almost... Yeah, Apo's at 70, but I'm just going to keep blasting until it's a little bit higher. Alright, turning off stability... or turning off the prograde burn to then point horizon. That's a pretty sight, right? I think. And now let's go ahead and add a maneuver here for a circularization and orbit. There we go. 80, 87, that will work. Burn time is 46 seconds, so I'll start at 23. Let's point at the maneuver, accelerate time just a teeny bit. I'm in space, so my rockets will be a little bit more efficient. Whoa! I accelerate time a little bit more, and it looks like these two aren't tethered together, but they're not breaking apart, so I'm okay. And these sides here are going to be staged off at the end of this burn, it looks like. Anyway. There's a teeny little bit of wobbling I'm concerned about, but not overly concerned. I'm going to cut the engines for a second so I can stage these away sort of safely. And then I'm just going to eyeball the circularization here. Alright, we're in orbit, not quite as perfect as I had planned, but it's in orbit nonetheless. Still with 9K Delta V left. All that remains to do is the transfer burn to Duna. But I'm going to leave that for future me because I'm just about out of time, guys. So I know most of this was shipbuilding, but this ship, unlike many others, has a lot of staging, a lot of efficiencies, and a lot of fuel. So I'm excited about this one. I wanted to thank Ozaton for telling me how to asparagus stage a little bit smarter, and for South Sickle letting me know that, yeah, it was a bug, and because I started my career before the Breaking Ground DLC, but I fixed that anyway through console. If you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, drop me a line, and next time, I'll see you on Duna. Thanks for watching. Adios.